What is up, you guys? It is Jazz, and on my channel I talk about nursing, hair, and holistic health and wellness. If this is your first time clicking on one of my videos, thank you so much for coming to hang out with me today. And if you're returning, thank you so much. I really appreciate the support. In today's video, I'm basically going to be sharing the summary of my whole nursing journey up until this point. I graduated with my Bachelor of Science in Nursing in August of 2021. And then I actually just very recently started my first nursing position out of college on July 5th. And I am actually a COVID testing lab nurse. Now, I know because I am a new grad and I just started my first nursing job, my nursing journey still has a lot of chapters to be written, but looking back, there's so much that I've already gone through and so far that I've already come. I always personally find it interesting to hear people's stories of their personal path to get to where they are, because as we know in the field of nursing, there's so many different paths you can take. So everybody's journey is very unique. All right, so without further ado, let's get into this video on my nursing journey. So where else to start but the beginning? Let me just start out by saying I was not one of those people that knew since I was a little girl growing up that I wanted to be a nurse. I don't have any family members that are nurses, so I didn't grow up around anyone who was a nurse, and it just wasn't something that was really on my radar. So when I first started thinking about going into nursing was actually my junior year of high school. I actually sat down with my auntie one day and kind of just had a conversation with her about my career and what I was thinking that I wanted to do. I kind of didn't really know what I wanted to go to school for and was just kind of trying to brainstorm with my auntie. She's very smart and I really value her opinion, and I feel like she knows me pretty well, so she was definitely a good person to have the conversation with. And my auntie actually suggested to me, she said, you know, Jazz, I think that you'd be a very good nurse practitioner. Now, at this point in time, I had never heard of a nurse practitioner. I didn't know what a nurse practitioner was, what they did, any of that. So once my auntie told me that, I kind of went and ran with that and started doing research. I researched about nurse practitioners and, you know, learned what they do, how there's all these different specialties, so on and so forth. And I really thought like, wow, that's pretty cool. I think I could definitely do that. So then moving forward from that point in time, after that conversation, it was my goal to go to school, become a nurse, go back to school, and become a nurse practitioner. At the time when I was doing research and kind of looking into the different specialty areas, mental health, adult health, and women's health were the three that kind of like stood out to me that I thought I would be interested in. So after that, my mind was pretty much set. I knew that I was going to go to nursing school because in order to become a nurse practitioner, you first had to become a registered nurse. Since I knew that I wanted to get an advanced nursing degree, that made it very easy for me in choosing what type of program I wanted. So I went with a bachelor's program just because, you know, I knew I wanted to go back to school and I would have to go back and earn my bachelor's eventually anyways to do so. So basically at the time when I was a junior in high school, I was actually in like a dual enrollment program where I was still a high school student, but I was taking all of my classes at the University of Minnesota, earning both high school and college credit. So at that time, I was attending the University of Minnesota in my junior year of high school, and that's the school that I ended up deciding that I wanted to go to for nursing school. I ended up applying to the U of M for college, and they had like a freshman guarantee program where you could put in your application a little early and they would let you know whether you got into the program. So I only ended up applying to the U of M because I could apply early, and then I still knew before deadlines for other schools were due that I had made it into the freshman guarantee nursing program at the U of M. So I didn't even bother applying for any other schools because that's where I wanted to go. So then I graduated from high school in 2016, and then that same fall is when I started my freshman year of college at the U of M. And freshman year went good. You know, I liked it. It was not into actual like nursing classes yet, but you know, nonetheless, it was still a good year for me. Around this time was when I actually changed my mind on what I wanted to do. So I don't even remember what class it was that I was taking, but I just remember in one of my classes that we watched a video about birth and the birthing process and being a midwife, you know, and just how in America we kind of treat birth like a medical procedure versus a natural process, and just all these things surrounding birth and being a practitioner that helps people through birth experiences. And in watching that video, I just remember thinking like, wow, that's what I'm meant to do. Like, I want to do that. And so ever since that point forward, I changed my mind to wanting to be a nurse midwife. So then I ended up staying at the U of M for freshman and sophomore year. For 2 years I was there. My sophomore year ended in the spring of 2018. After this semester, I decided that I was going to transfer. There was a lot of stuff just kind of going on in my life at that time, and just a lot I was dealing with, and I was just ready for a fresh new start. That fall of 2018, which would have been the first semester of my junior year, I didn't go back to school. I just ended up working during that semester when I would have been in school, so I could try and save up some money for my move. Then I ended up moving January 2nd of 2019, and I started school out here in Nevada at UNLV in that spring 2019 semester. When I transferred to UNLV, their requirements for their program were slightly different than my requirements for the program back in Minnesota. So there were some classes that I still had to take before I could actually like apply to their nursing program. For example, at the U of M, we only had to take one writing class. At UNLV, there was two. And just like even some of the classes I had already taken, UNLV required a higher grade for those classes than the U of M did, and so there was a couple classes I had to retake to bump my grade up a little bit higher. And so then I didn't actually end up starting in the nursing program at UNLV until summer of 2020. Spring of 2019 was my first semester when I was doing some classes, and then I had another semester before I got into the nursing program of fall 2019. I had to do 2 semesters because of the classes I had to retake. One was a prereq for the other. So that second semester of prereqs I finished, that was fall 2019, and then basically I couldn't apply to start in the nursing program for spring 2020 because one of those classes that I took in that last semester of my prereqs, that class had a grade requirement, and our final grade wasn't determined or known at the time that you had to apply for the nursing program, right? Because you're applying for the nursing program in the middle of the previous semester. And obviously, if I'm in the middle of that semester, then I don't know what my final grade is going to be yet. And so I couldn't apply to be in the spring class. So then the first time I applied was for summer 2020, and I got in the first time. Once I got into the actual nursing program at UNLV, it was very fast paced from there. At UNLV, the BSN program goes year round for kind of like an accelerated track almost. You can get done a little faster. So I started my first semester summer 2020, then I had fall 2020, then I had spring 2021, and then my fourth one was summer 2021, and I graduated at the end of that summer. Now obviously we all know all about this big old pandemic. So the pandemic hit just a few months before I was going to start nursing school. So at first my school didn't even know like if we were gonna be able to start nursing school on time that semester. Like, would they have to just push everything back a full semester? Like, what was gonna happen leading up to starting? It was kind of like, what's going on? How's this gonna be? Just a bunch of unknowns and craziness. Luckily, we were able to still start on time as planned, but obviously there was a lot of changes. So pretty much for most of my nursing school education at UNLV, it was online and virtual because of COVID. All of like our labs and clinicals we still had in person, but our actual lecture courses were on Zoom University. It was pros and cons to this. I just feel like online learning does not compare to in-person learning whatsoever, and it's a lot more extra effort and work on the educators to, you know, really try to make things engaging, because it's not engaging to just stare at a screen all day. So it was definitely some pros and cons to that situation, but I made it. And luckily we still got to do almost all of our clinicals, but there was a few clinicals that we didn't really get to do much of. So for our OB and peds clinical rotations, we only got to do 1 day of clinical. Our semester with OB and peds was split in half, and for that first half of the semester, nobody got to do any clinicals. And then during the second half, they were able to swing it that we got to go to 1 clinical day. So whichever class you were in for that second half of the semester, you got to go to 1 clinical day for that. I happened to have been in peds, so I got to do 1 day of peds clinical, and I didn't get to do any OB clinical. When we found out that we weren't going to be able to do our OB and peds clinicals, I actually cried, because OB was the clinical of nursing school I was by far looking the most forward to, and I didn't get to experience it at all. So that was a big disappointment for me, and it did kind of make me sad, but it's okay. So, you know, here I am just going along, trekking through my nursing school journey. And then November 2020, that is when my life really changed a lot. My boyfriend and I found out that we were pregnant and we were going to be having a baby. This was totally unexpected and unplanned, and I do have a whole story time all about becoming a mom during nursing school. It's my very first video on my channel if you want to check that out. But yes, my life definitely changed a lot from that point forward. So that was basically like right in the middle of my second semester of school. So I went through my whole pregnancy, giving birth, and being a new mom, breastfeeding, doing all that, all within my nursing school journey. And on top of that, we were in the middle of a pandemic. So I really had like the triple whammy. Now, at first, when I figured out that I was pregnant, I was kind of freaking out, like, how am I gonna finish school? What am I gonna do? This and that. But after, you know, my mind kind of cleared and the fog settled and I had time to think clearly, I had no doubt in myself. I'm like, Jasmine, you can do whatever you set your mind to. And this is not gonna stop you from getting your degree when you planned on getting your degree. I had it set in my mind that I was gonna finish school on time, when I planned on it, no matter what. And that's what ended up happening. So I'm very grateful for that. So my daughter ended up being born halfway through my last semester of nursing school. So her birthday is June 21st, 2021. And then I graduated August 19th, 2021. So pretty much almost exactly 2 months after giving birth to my daughter. So yeah, I had a newborn baby. While I was in my last semester of nursing school, I was exclusively breastfeeding and pumping milk for her. I was working 12-hour overnight shifts in the hospital, and it was a lot, but I did it. Also, during my last semester, I did have my preceptorship. So when I was working one-on-one paired with a nurse, you know, just working on their unit. So for my preceptorship, I actually was working on a postpartum unit. So luckily, you know, I still kind of got to be involved in women's health and have some type of clinical experience in that area. And I actually ended up loving working on the postpartum floor. I really didn't think I was gonna love it as much as I did, but I really truly did. It was just truly a great experience for me. I think it is somewhere that I could still see myself working in postpartum in the hospital. And I would just always be grateful for that experience, for that time, and for my preceptor. I had an amazing preceptor, so shout out to you, Alexis. Okay, so then August rolls around, we make it to graduation, I graduate from college, and finally I can take like a big just like breath and sigh of relief. Like, oh my gosh, I really just did that. I really just went through my whole pregnancy, gave birth, and had a newborn from 0 to 2 months, all while I was in nursing school. That was all a lot to deal with. And after that, I really just wanted to take some time for myself to spend with my boyfriend and with my baby and just not really think about school. And so I ended up scheduling my first NCLEX not until October. Long story short, but if you want to hear the long version, definitely check out my NCLEX experience video. But long story short, I ended up failing that first NCLEX, was down on myself a little bit, picked myself right back up, and I took my second NCLEX on February 2nd, 2022. That is the day I officially passed my NCLEX and became a registered nurse. And once I did that, I thought I was gonna wanna start working right away. I passed my NCLEX and I still wanted to take a little bit more time. Why? Well, I really wanted to do it just because basically up until that time, yes, I had been graduated from nursing school, but I still had to pass my NCLEX. So it was still this huge academic obligation that was, just like weighing over my head, that was really like consuming me, and I thought about it every day, you know what I mean? So once I did pass my NCLEX in February, that's when I really felt a weight lifted off my chest. Like, I felt so good. I feel like I had finally closed my nursing school chapter, and it was just one of the best feelings in the world. And now that I finally didn't have any type of academic obligation weighing over me, I really wanted to enjoy the time of that feeling. Not only am I done with school, but I'm done with my boards. Like, I've earned my license. I'm good. So then, I was really just content, happy with still working as a server a few nights on the weekends and spending most of my time at home with my baby. And I will always, always, always cherish like how much time I really got to spend with my daughter during her first year of life after I graduated from college. I was pretty much with her like all the time. So then finally, once May rolls around is when I was like, you know what? I'm feeling ready. I think it's time to make this change. I think it's time to start my career. My job then found me, and I say this because it's true. My job found me. I did not find my job, and I really look at my job as a gift that was sent to me by the universe, honestly. Because when I was starting to think about applying to jobs and what I wanted to do, there were just all these kind of things I knew that I wanted for myself in a job. And I had come to realize that I didn't want to work in the hospital, mainly because I didn't want to be working 12-hour shifts. I knew that I wanted a set schedule, same days, same hours, every week. I knew that I wanted a job that was relatively low stress so that I could still be putting most of my focus and effort into my personal life and home life. And obviously I knew I wanted to be making good money. Like, who doesn't want to make good money? Just graduated from nursing school. I've got all these student loans to pay off, and like, I'm ready to start making money. And let me tell you, my job checked off everything on my list. And so I'm just so grateful for it. If you want to hear more about my first job, accepting my first job, definitely check out my video about accepting my first job, and be on the lookout for some more videos related to my job coming very soon. So yeah, basically July 5th is when I just started working my new job, my first job as a new graduate nurse. And so far I'm honestly really loving it. Like I said, I'm just very grateful and thankful for my job because I feel like it was an ideal starting position for me. And now we are to the now of this story. What the future holds, I'm not too sure yet. We really want to move out of the United States. This is not really even like a maybe, like it's going to happen. It's our plans and it's what we're going to do. So moving forward, I do still want to go back to school. I do still want to become a midwife, but I have to do just a lot of research to figuring out what country I want to move to and how the logistics of all of that will work out. Because I don't know if it would be smarter for me to go back to school here, get my midwife degree, start practicing here, and then move. Or I don't know if there's ways that I could possibly just go to school in other countries, having had a bachelor's degree in the US, like, can I take that bachelor's degree, go somewhere else, go back to school there, become a midwife there, and start working there, if that makes sense. So it's just like a lot of logistics of how everything will work that I have to look into. That's all kind of to be determined currently, and I'm not worried about it because I know I'll figure it out. So as for right now, I'm just going to continue working, being thankful and blessed. That's pretty much the end of my nursing journey up until this point. If you have any questions at all about being a transfer student, about being a mom in school, about, just anything that has to relate to nursing school and things I went through specifically in my nursing journey, please feel free to comment that below. Reach out to me. I would love to help you out in any way that I can. And if you like this video, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. It really helps me. And subscribe so you can come back and hang out with me some more. The last thing I have to say is just thank you so much for tuning into this video with me today. I really, truly appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. I hope you all have a beautiful rest of your day. Bye, guys.